Welcome back. Yeah, today I'm going to do something a little different. You have type O blood. DNA finally revealed the deep origin for history about type O blood. Let's go ahead and get into that video, shall we? This is something I don't like to know because I got type O blood. So let's go ahead and get to this video.
It's a dark, centuries-old secret. Your ancestors weren't just survivors, they were the ultimate genetic warriors against history's deadliest plagues. For decades, doctors treated O like the plain one. No frills, no story, just the universal donor sitting quietly in the corner of every blood bank. But scientists who started digging into ancient genomes found something nobody expected. In parts of the Americas, indigenous communities don't just lean toward type O. They are almost entirely type O. Not 60%, not 80%. In some tribes, the number climbs past 99%. That's not a coincidence. That's not random chance scattered across thousands of years. That's a signal proof of something that happened to an entire population, written directly into their blood. So what actually happened? Why did one blood type take over an entire continent while the rest of the world stayed mixed? The answer touches plagues, ice age migrations, oceans nobody thought were crossed, and a secret some scientists are still arguing about today.
We know you appreciate precision. That's why you...
Mystery nobody saw coming. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll understand why type O might be the most important blood type in human history. Let's start simple, because the simple version is what most people think they know. Human blood comes in four main types: A, B, AB, and O. The difference comes down to tiny markers called antigens sitting on the surface of your red blood cells. Think of them like ID badges. Type A wears the A badge, type B wears the B badge, type AB wears both. And type O, it wears nothing at all. No badge, no marker, completely blank. That blankness is exactly why O became known as the universal donor. Because there's no A or B antigen for the immune system to react to, O blood can be transfused into almost anyone without triggering a violent immune response. In an emergency room, when there's no time to test someone's blood type, doctors reach for O negative. It's the safest bet, the one that buys time when seconds matter. For most of the 20th century, that's where the story ended. O was useful, O was common, O was simple. Case closed. Except O isn't supposed to be the default. Geneticists believe type O actually came from a mutation, a chunk of genetic instructions that got deleted from the gene responsible for building the A and B antigens in the first place. In other words, O isn't the original blood type, it's the glitch, the accident. And yet, somehow, that glitch didn't just survive. In huge parts of the world, it took over completely. Globally, type O is the most common blood type, making up close to half the world's population. That's already strange for something that started as a deletion. But it gets stranger. Travel to certain indigenous communities across the Americas, and that number doesn't hover anywhere close to half. It climbs to 90, then 95. In some tribes, it brushes up against 100. An entire population almost uniformly carrying a blood type that began as a mistake. That's not background noise in human genetics. That's a signal. And once researchers started asking why one continent looks so different from the rest of the world, they uncovered something most people have never heard. Nobody expected this. So why does one continent look so different from the rest of the planet? To answer that, you have to zoom out and look at how blood types are scattered across the globe. In Africa, where human life is believed to have begun, type O shows up at high rates, which is part of why some scientists think it might be one of the older variants, still circulating widely. As populations pushed into Europe and Asia, the picture shifted. Type A became more common across Western Europe. Type B rose sharply through Central and Eastern Asia. The neat four-letter system started splitting unevenly across continents, shaped by thousands of years of migration, disease, and isolation. Then there's the Americas, and this is where the pattern stops behaving the way it should. Instead of a mix like Europe or Asia, indigenous populations show overwhelming, almost uniform type O in some communities, reaching frequencies most geneticists never see anywhere else on Earth. The leading theory traces back to the last ice age. when small groups of early humans crossed a land bridge connecting
I don't see
Siberia
it.
to Alaska. These founding populations were small, and many of them likely carried type O blood already. When a tiny group founds an entire population, whatever traits they happen to carry
Oh, yeah.
get carried
You wanna think
forward
about
to
type O
multiplied
blood?
across generations
Type O
until they
blood, the
define the
origin of
whole
it.
group. That
Yeah.
alone might explain
You
part
know,
of the story.
one tribe here of Indians
But there's a
have
second
all
piece.
type O blood.
Once those early migrants
Every
settled
Indian
into
tribe
the
has type O
Americas,
blood.
the continent became isolated. Two oceans on either side meant almost no new genetic material flowed in for thousands of years. No new blood types drifted in to dilute the gene pool. No outside populations mixed in to balance it out. Type O simply had no competition. It became entrenched, generation after generation, until it defined entire nations of people. Compare that to other isolated populations around the world. Some Pacific islands show similarly skewed blood type frequencies for
You
the
got an
same
umbrella
reason.
right here, come boy?
Isolation,
No.
locking in whatever genetic deck the founders happen to be
I
dealt.
got an umbrella in my car.
But nowhere does the pattern run as deep or as consistently as it does across the Americas. Numbers like that don't show up by accident, so scientists went looking for proof, and decades of research have backed it up again and again. Researchers studying Native American populations across multiple communities have repeatedly found something almost unbelievable. In some groups tested, close to 99% of participants carried type O blood. Not a strong majority, not a clear trend. Nearly everyone, in study after study, long before anyone could even sequence a genome properly, and it wasn't isolated to one region. Similar numbers turned up everywhere researchers looked, from indigenous communities in the snowy reaches of Canada down to groups living deep in the Amazon rainforest.
If you don't want to die from neuropathy, now is the time to stop taking gabapentin. If you suffer from neuropathy, I'm going to teach you the exact 1 5-second ritual that has kept my people free from neuropathy for decades. If you've never tried this, you might be ignoring one of the most powerful natural tools in existence to regain sensitivity. That's because this anti-neuropathy blend can coat the nerves and drastically reduce burning in the hands and feet in less than 24 hours. After you start using it, you'll never have to worry about sudden nerve pain again. As a Japanese man working in a research center in Japan, I saw many scientists and researchers unable to believe what they were witnessing. Elders in their 60s, 80s, and even 90s who never needed to take gabapentin. I remember treating only 2 patients suffering from neuropathy, and they weren't even Japanese, but American tourists. Meanwhile, here in the United States, 37 million people suffer from this terrible condition, and every 4 minutes, someone loses a limb. Before returning to the U.S., one of the most experienced doctors called me in to talk and showed me the data proving that Japan has one of the lowest rates of neuropathy in the developed world, and asked me what the secret was. I told him that over there, we don't treat this condition with drugstore meds or laboratory-produced medications like Neurontin or Lyrica. Instead, we make this mixture with honey and a handful of turmeric at home religiously to prevent and reverse conditions like neuropathy. If you have honey and turmeric in your kitchen, you already have everything you need to eliminate the burning and get rid of numbness quickly, as long as you prepare this natural remedy the right way. And the best part is that once your nerves come back to life, they stay that way without medications or diets. The truth is that Big Pharma has been trying to hide this for decades. They know that if everyone treated this condition with something natural that costs just a few dollars a day, their entire empire would collapse. That's why you can't find any information about this online. Every time someone posts a video with the ingredients for this recipe, it gets taken down. But if you click the Learn More button below right now, you'll get access to the only uncensored video on the entire internet that teaches you how to properly prepare this anti-neuropathy remedy so that anyone suffering from nerve pain can prepare this natural remedy at home today. Click the Learn More button now and watch it before they remove this video from the internet for good. Ever since I started teaching this honey and turmeric home remedy, thousands of people have already managed to restore sensitivity naturally, and I'm sure it can work for you too. It only takes 30 seconds to prepare. Drink a glass before bed, and the next day, see how your nerves feel brand new. If that's what you want, just click the button below right now.
Take a look at these two liver scans. They're both mine, 12 weeks apart. The first one, fatty, toxic, barely functioning. That's also why I couldn't lose a single pound no matter how healthy I was. If your belly won't budge, there's a good chance your liver looks like that first scan right now. I've got this group chat that's grown into this mix of friends and neighbors we've just collected over the years. So a few weeks ago I texted, I've been eating clean and exercising for months, and I'm still gaining weight and exhausted all the time. Actually scared something's seriously wrong. Next thing I know, this woman, who I think I met once at a school pickup, sends me a private message with this, alarming video. I almost didn't watch. Thank God I did. Only sharing this now because it could save another person from months of doing everything right and still watching the number on the scale go up. So watch this. And whatever you do, don't click on anything until you've seen her entire video. Okay, here you go.
Hey, so we've met like maybe once, but I saw your text about the weight gain and the exhaustion, and you need to hear this. About 8 months ago, I decided to get serious about my weight gain. Big mistake. First, I completely cleaned up my eating, egg whites, spinach, cut out sugar entirely. Sounds good, right? Except my belly kept growing. I started going for daily walks, went to a weekly Pilates class, tried keto for 2 months, gained 5 pounds, still exhausted, still bloated, started getting weird rashes on my arms, brain fog so bad I'd walk into a room and just stand there. So I made another appointment with my doctor, waited 45 minutes, he checked my blood pressure, said my labs look fine, then told me to get more steps in, eat clean, and de-stress my life. Okay, I've been doing that, but for some reason I kept telling myself, he's a doctor, he knows what he's doing. I kept telling myself that until the morning my husband rushed me to the ER because I woke up confused and couldn't remember my daughter's name. Gained almost 40 pounds in under 6 months. I kept hearing the ER doctor say I was pre-diabetic, but just told me to watch my diet and sent me home. I remember thinking, this is never going to go away. I'm stuck like this. I was done with doctors who had nothing better to offer. So I started to do some digging. I couldn't just keep gaining weight. That's when I came across Dr. Gina Sam, New York City's top gut specialist, 20 years of practice, director of the GI Motility Center at Mount Sinai. So I'm thinking, if anyone can help me, it's her. Dr. Sam explained something that blew my mind. The real problem wasn't what I was eating, it was my liver. And look, this has nothing to do with alcohol. My husband's sober, so I'm not really a drinker. Dr. Sam explained it like this. Your liver is actually your body's primary fat-burning organ, but when it gets overwhelmed by toxins, it stops burning fat and starts storing it instead. These are toxins that build up from our water, food, cleaning supplies. And when your liver is storing fat, it doesn't matter how clean you eat or how much you exercise, that's what was causing the belly that wouldn't move no matter what I tried. All those diets, detox teas, even Ozempic at $1,000 a month, they don't fix a liver that can't burn fat, and they don't address why your body is storing it in the first place. But Dr. Sam created a simple fix. She calls it the liver reset ritual. I started it immediately, and the difference was wild. My energy was back, actually back. My husband said I looked 10 years younger. I wasn't afraid of the scale anymore. No prescriptions, no fad diet, no extreme exercise. The belly just finally started moving. I dropped the link to Dr. Sam's presentation below this video. It's short, and you don't have to enter your email or anything. But please, whatever you do, watch it before you end up where I was, in a hospital bed, your family standing around you, getting the same useless advice. Click the link now to learn the liver reset ritual. Your liver and your whole body will thank you.
I was not about ending up in the ER doing everything right, so I clicked immediately. I'll drop the link below for you now. Happy to report I've been doing the liver reset ritual, and I can actually think straight again. The afternoon crashes are gone, and I can actually button my jeans without lying down on the bed first. So if you've got belly fat that won't move despite eating clean, click the link to Dr. Sam's presentation below. This isn't just about losing weight, it's about not becoming the person who does everything right and still gets handed a diabetes pamphlet while her doctor tells her she's old. Click the link now before you become the person who hates how they look in the mirror.
Different climates, different diets, different languages, completely different environments, and yet the same blood type dominating again and again. So what was actually happening? The leading explanation comes down to natural selection, working exactly the way it's supposed to over thousands of years. Early populations crossing into the Americas faced brutal conditions, harsh climates, unfamiliar pathogens, and constant physical demands just to survive long enough to reproduce. In environments like that, even a small biological advantage can snowball. If type O blood offered even a slight edge against the infections and diseases circulating at the time, the people who carried it would have been more likely to survive, more likely to have children, and more likely to pass that same blood type down. Repeat that pattern across hundreds of generations, and a once random genetic trait stops looking random at all. It starts looking inevitable. This is the part most people miss when they hear type O is common. Common doesn't mean ordinary. In the Americas, common means selected, chosen, generation after generation, by forces invisible to the people carrying it. Their bodies were quietly fighting battles they never knew about, and the survivors passed the proof forward in their blood. Modern DNA analysis has only confirmed what decades of blood type research first hinted at. This wasn't drift, it wasn't coincidence. It was survival, written into the genome of an entire continent, one generation at a time. But survival pressure wasn't the same everywhere, and that's where the story gets even more specific. Take the Andes, where some indigenous populations have lived at extreme altitude for thousands of years, breathing air with a fraction of the oxygen found at sea level. Their bodies adapted in remarkable ways over generations, and researchers noticed something curious sitting underneath those adaptations. A striking number of high-altitude indigenous communities carry type O blood. It's a contested theory, but here's the idea. Some researchers suggest type O blood may flow somewhat more easily through narrow vessels, potentially aiding oxygen delivery to tissues, though this isn't widely accepted in mainstream hematology and remains unproven. At sea level, any difference would barely register. At 12,000 feet, proponents argue it might matter more. It's a small, speculative biological tweak with a possible payoff in exactly the kind of environment where these populations settled. Then there's disease. Historical records suggest that people carrying A or B antigens were hit harder by certain infections, because some pathogens are built to latch onto those exact molecular markers, like a key fitting a lock. Type O, lacking both, simply doesn't offer that same foothold. While malaria wasn't a major threat in pre-Columbian America the way it was in Africa, the broader principle still applies.
Honey, come here.
What's he doing?
Well, you know how Geico did all the home insurance shopping and saved us 20% when we switched? Now the Gecko is saving us a call to the plumber. Here was your problem.
Oh, my earring.
That said, I don't like the look of your pivot.
Fewer molecular targets for pathogens to exploit means fewer ways for disease to spread through a population. Diet adds another layer, though a far shakier one. Indigenous communities ate wildly different foods depending on where they lived, from seafood-heavy diets along the Pacific coast to corn-based diets across Mesoamerica. Some have speculated that type O metabolism might handle high-protein, high-fat diets differently, an idea that echoes the popular blood type diet, and one most nutrition scientists consider unproven. And then there's the social piece, easy to overlook but impossible to ignore. In small, tightly connected communities, a person whose blood could save almost anyone during childbirth or injury wasn't just lucky, they were valuable. That kind of value doesn't just save lives in the moment over generations. It can quietly shape who survives, who thrives, and whose genes get passed forward. Before I show you the last part, if you've ever looked at your own results and wondered where this ancient type O bloodline fits into your ancestry, I put it all together in a guide called Where Do You Really Come? From? Link is in the description. But stay right here because what comes next is the part most people completely miss. If the fossil record and old blood tests gave us the outline of this story, modern DNA technology is what's finally filling in the details. Over the last 2 decades, genetic testing has become precise enough to trace bloodlines back through specific tribes, specific regions, even specific historical figures, something that would have sounded like science fiction not long ago. One of the clearest examples involves a direct descendant of Sitting Bull. Using DNA testing, researchers confirmed a genetic connection linking a living relative directly to one of the most significant figures in Native American history, closing a gap that family stories alone had never been able to fully prove. For descendants of indigenous peoples, this kind of confirmation means something far bigger than satisfying curiosity. For generations, Colonization disrupted records, broke up families, and in many cases deliberately severed people from their tribal histories. DNA testing has become one of the few tools capable of reconnecting some of those broken threads, offering a way back to ancestors, languages, and communities that history tried to erase. It's not just about identity in the abstract either. For many indigenous people, proving ancestry through DNA can affect access to tribal recognition, resources, and rights tied directly to heritage. A genetic test isn't just a curiosity purchase in these cases. It can be the difference between being formally recognized as part of a community or being shut out of it entirely. But this power comes with real tension attached. The same DNA data that reconnects people to their roots can also be bought, sold, and stored by private companies with their own commercial interests. Questions about consent, privacy, and who actually controls this information have become some of the most contested issues in the entire field. Treating someone's genetic heritage like a product to be packaged and monetized sits uneasily next to its deeper purpose, helping people understand who they are and where they came from. Scientists working in this space increasingly argue that done responsibly, with indigenous communities involved in how their own data gets used, this technology becomes something rare, a tool that can heal historical wounds instead of